Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Realism Invictus. This is the Ashared Het. This video is a little bit delayed in coming out. I actually just last week, a week ago from today, was getting up to make this video when my power suddenly went out. We've had some crazy weather where I live, and an unexpected storm knocked out my power on the night of the week where I had time set aside to do this, so it is a week delayed, but regardless, I'm going to carry through with my stated intention to complete this Let's Play one step at a time. Early on, I had said the pace is likely to be once a week or so, and early on, I had put them out pretty consecutively in short order, and now that average is probably brought out to about a week now, so I'm due, and here is the same day of the week. The schedule affords the same time, so here I am. Um, I will say that commentary is probably going to be a bit lighter this time. I'm feeling a little bit down, so I won't be as spry as I normally am, I suppose, but I feel I owe it to those few of you who actually do want to set aside their own time to watch this to put it out on a somewhat regular basis. And anyway, that said, in the last video, we had really just gotten our paved road network properly hooked up between all of our cities. In spite of this graphical disturbance here, this is actually a connected route. And I am getting the really low frame rate. I hope that's not reflected on your side, but for whatever reason, the game is deciding to be a bit slow, so hopefully that doesn't end up being too much of a disturbance, but for the time being, we'll go forward with it. Um, yeah, so the paved roads are hooked up, and we were getting our strategic copper hooked up with these slaves and workers. This city really is a high potential spot, but right now it's not really that good. I mean, it claims it's the copper, but it's going to take a long time to get this properly developed. I might need to do something with my computer in the next one. If you can bear with me on this choppiness, I'll see what I can do on the next one, because it's probably only going to get worse as the memory allocation gets higher and higher as the game progresses. But hey, at least it's not the um, horrible sound quality of the first video. So yeah, let's just take a look at how all of our labor is allocated. I noticed this savanna tile is pretty suboptimal when we're not at our cap here. These revolts, like I had mentioned a few videos ago, really take away efficient labor allocation. We are almost done with our national epic, which will increase our birth rate. And then once we get that copper hooked up, we can build our strategic units, which I will probably do here pretty shortly. I think in the intervening turns, a jeweler is not a bad choice, because that will get actually a jeweler and then an aqueduct, because our happiness is a little lower than our health, and our food cap, actually we need a workboat here. Could easily support the population which this would enable. So let's do it this way. Just try to be a little efficient here. I'm not interested in a great profit this late in the game. Early on they're nice, but I actually would prefer a spy over a priest, incidentally. Let's do that. There's not really a preferable tile to work at the moment. Okay, here. Yeah, we were building our navy. That's a fine approach, I think. We can sail those over eastward. And there's not really a better build here for now. I don't think we have most of our buildings built up, and we don't really have the food to warrant a jeweler, or can't work seafood, so the lighthouse isn't a great build, etc. Classical art, also a fine choice. Let's keep going with that. However, stagnation is not great. I really shouldn't have built a cottage here, but I don't think it warrants imminent domain destruction of houses or anything at this point. I'll just leave it there. Once we switch to serfdom, farm output will be higher, and we can irrigate this way. At least get these tiles irrigated. Maybe if we conquer this land here, we can irrigate from the west, but Unfortunately, the food is stagnant here unless we want to forfeit this gold mine and work something else. But so far, I think the 3 pop city is sadly the best move. So building units with this city rather than buildings, which mostly facilitate yield for mature cities and population thresholds for food-rich cities, wouldn't be an ideal use of hammers. So once classical art's done, I'll probably reconsider and queue some units. Yeah, pagan temple's not a bad choice. We do have a theater already. It is slightly cheaper, if I'm not wrong. Wonder why the hammer cost isn't showing there, but yes, I think the theater is a little cheaper than the pagan temple. So if I remember, I chose this because it was the next cheap culture building I could build, and we have a incipient border with the Aztecs that hasn't really sealed in place yet, but it's going to. He's going to attack me anyway. We'll have battles in these 2 tiles. Generally this area. I'm almost certain, which with the influence-driven war mechanic will confer a lot of culture there, but I still want, for defensive purposes, if nothing else, to expand my border even into this land, which I'm not going to economically use, at least with this city, if at all. Okay, that's everyone. And then land tenure, speaking of serfdom, once that's done we can switch to that, which I probably will do if my defenses are adequate. These are composite bows. We went through that whole upgrade process. So we should be able to deal with 6 strength serf revolts, which we're going to get even if we don't switch to serfdom. Not true. The slaves will still be 3 strength, I believe. You know, I'm not sure how that question hasn't come to mind yet, but I'm pretty sure the slaves would stay 3 strength, but if we switch to serfdom, which I do intend to do, which is going to reduce our production a little bit because we are working a few mines. It will make some of these food poor cities like Thermopylae feasible to grow, and I really wish the Greeks would, excuse me, the Inca would, where are the Greeks? Wow. I've been playing a different single player game offline a little bit, and my neighbor to the west is the Greeks, and so just knee jerk, I wanted to call them that. But if the Inca would just clear these savanna and allow me to spread irrigation, it would really be helpful here. But sadly, we can't do that, and we can't do it through this desert either, so it really is up to them, except for plowing up this town or just getting these tiles, which we'll end up doing. But yeah, let's keep with the land tenure. The only war, I checked this briefly before starting recording, is between Sweden, the Aztecs, and then the Ethiopians and the Inca, and we're going to fight the Aztecs ourselves later anyway, so that doesn't really matter. The fact that he's furious almost doesn't matter. He would attack you at friendly. The Swedes probably will solicit us to join his war again. I think I'll refuse for the time being, and yeah, anyway, with our power ratio, it's a little concerning with some of them. We could get downed randomly, but right now we're competitive. We're not totally defenseless, but once this copper gets hooked up, we'll build our unique units, and I'll get some better border defenses going. But yeah, with that, the 404 BC, end of the Peloponnesian War date I commented on before, let's keep going. I almost read that as epidemic and bacteria has ended, but nope. Not quite the same etymological relationship. Okay, another forest. That actually brings the total up to 1, so that would have given 1 more health to this city. Cool. Probably going to end up clearing... Well, I don't know. It's not Riverside. I might keep... This is a nice little Grecian national forest or something. Okay. Odyssey's done. It would be nice if we had a cool like little splash screen like we do for the great works of science and things like this, but sadly that was not included for the Odyssey. No blinding of Apollyon or anything like that, though that would be cool. Okay, and with this workboat we can more efficiently gather food. Oh, growth is restrained because land tenure will kick us into the Middle Ages, so I'll actually leave that tile unworked for the moment. Once the jeweler's built, the existing surplus will move us towards pop 13, or actually 14 anyway, but yeah, more food is just going to be wasted yield in the intervening turns. Okay, alright. No, the slaves didn't die, so put your backs into it, boys, and I'm sure you're going to hit the nugget right there on the beach when it's right behind you, but... And yeah, that's how you build mines, by the way, with pickaxes. Okay, let's get our fisheries protected. You guys go ahead and build the road, and then you... 5, same difference really. Contribute to the mine. Yeah. Just like any colony, the strategic resource is more important than the livelihood of the local inhabitants, as we can see, who are sick and angry, and yeah. Realism Invictus being realistic. God, I hate this event. It's why you should carry some money on you. This stupid, careless cigarette smoker thing happens a lot. I really wish, in fact, I even have the skill level to put a prerequisite in place that makes this not happen in 360 BC. But this happens with startling regularity in the ancient world, so we lose our theater and money. And so let's queue up the theater rebuild. You had to go through some pointy rocks, so you heal. And the Aztecs close their border with us. But this will be culturally contested land, as I mentioned. Okay, mine's done. You work on the paved road. That's not going to make a difference, so you start clearing that jungle. Alright, now we're in the medieval era. Too bad the beautiful classical music has to stop now. Classical era music. I don't want to switch to serfdom just yet because we have slave farms everywhere and I'll need to switch those before making that transition. In the meantime, I think currency is a good choice. Elephant spices. We actually do not, because the jeweler takes the place of this, have any of the luxuries that the market provides happiness for, so... And neither can we trade for them, so actually I think I'm going to rethink this. Once we do switch to serfdom, I find monasticism's a good combo, however that means we're going to give up our pagan temples, so you really need the happiness threshold for that to be worthwhile. Sanitation will help us get our growth caps higher. We have a non-existent chance for a great merchant, so glass blowing isn't a great choice. If we did, we would be able to get glassware from the merchant building the manufactory for it, but without that tech, that won't work. That's quite a ways away. Currency, you know what, this tech tree is pretty linear. I'm going to fill in the gaps. Let's do currency anyway, and then meditation. And this is an inefficient choice from a gameplay standpoint, but I hate this being a tech you don't have for forever, and then you see everyone else that has it, and it's just an eyesore when you check your tech disparity, so we'll cue that next. Finish the road. Oh, there wasn't a jungle here. Cool. Alright, well, build a regular farm, because that's what we're moving to. We can pretend this is the slow transition from a 2-field crop rotation to a 3-field one. Which generally happened during the 9th and 10th centuries, apparently. And probably is what is represented by serfdom, quote unquote, increasing food outputs. Okay, you go ahead and chop this jungle, and you're a bona fide worker, so you're not gonna, unlike the French company beginning the Panama Canal, you're not all gonna die in the jungle, as would be quite realistic, but the way the Civ 4 engine handles workers is not something that would make something akin to the epidemics in Realism Invictus very feasible from a gameplay standpoint. No, I don't really want to fight them. No way, no way. You probably already have a limestone. I really need to explore his stuff, build a spy and send it over there. Okay, but yep, now copper is properly hooked up. Now I think I need bronze, so I will need to build a bronze smith. Actually, let's do it this way. Matter of fact, let's do it this way. Indeed, bronze. So, and you need copper hooked up to build the bronze smith, so. And the highest, that's only 6 turns, the highest production city we have is probably our capital. Yeah, by far it is. Let's go through with the aqueduct. Bronze smith it, and then we'll build a nice classical Greek stack, which I will probably go ahead and put here to the southeast, because I can with reasonable certainty predict that the Aztecs will attack us. Yes, neoclassical classical art, but whatever. Forgot to tell you to build a road. Even though we have got a river here, but why not protect the lane? Or the route to the resource. Alright, Socrates. By all means marry. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. Yeah, I don't know if your advice really applies to the 21st century, Socrates. You'll become a philosopher with half of your estate ad libitum willfully taken away from you. You hand a loaded gun to someone. Alright, probably shouldn't go on record saying that, but too late. What am I going to do with Socrates? I don't know that that's fair to his legacy to make him research sanitation of all things. However, it would be worth mentioning that he did clean his own body the night of his execution, apparently, to spare the morticians the labor. So that would be ironic, but from both a gameplay and homage standpoint, I don't think that's fair to him. So, what would be fair to him would be to build an Athenian academy, which he quite literally is famous for. So I think there's no better way to spin this great person than to do just that. Which did boost our research quite considerably. I shouldn't build a slave market if we're switching to serfdom soon, but oh well. In fact, what did I have queued here? Just that? Alright, let's go ahead and... You're already unhappy. Local autonomy next is a good choice. Okay, one fewer war in the world.
Everything is worth what its purchaser will pay for
I criticized this and then didn't even remove it. Whatever. We're not going to immediately switch out of slavery, but this, I might as well not even put 3 more turns into that. We don't, well, we do have one mine. We'd get a little bit out of this copper mine while we're still in slavery, but eh. I'm also a bit mentally tired. I had kind of a somewhat involved day at work, so my mental alacrity might have might be a little short-stopped. I don't know. I can't really assess that while I'm playing the game, but that might be apparent later. Alright, you had to go through this little reef here. And 2 more triremes, I believe. Yep. We'll put 1 here and then probably 1 in Athens. This pearl... Oh, wait, I mentioned not having luxuries that the market gives you happiness for. That's not quite true. And actually, let's do a workboat after that for that very reason. And then we can get markets relatively soon, but yeah. I kind of owe it to you all to play through this whole thing. I may not play the most diligently, but I have enough faith in my skill level, at least to make it to the end of the game the good majority of the time, even if we don't win. There are some times, typically what happens is if I don't make the transition to line infantry relatively close to everyone else and I get attacked, then I'm doomed. And that does happen sometimes. Sometimes you draw the short end of the stick with luck. Sometimes I play poorly, but if that doesn't happen, usually making it to the end of the game happens. And at least then that way you, the audience, get to see the full scope of the game, which I sort of bait and switched you on with my last Let's Play, which ended in like 1400 or something. So I don't intend to do that this time. And I'll err on the side of playing a little faster and not talking about everything. I guess the exposition is probably worth it to some of you, but like I mentioned, I'm not going to try to meticulously explain everything. Those few of you who are watching this probably already play it anyway, so outside of my opinion on certain strategies, explaining every little fine point doesn't really bring anything to the table. These little bugs are funny when you got the sprites running across the map. A little streaker sprite bug, although he is wearing armor, and he just like totally leaped over that mountain. Okay, well that happened. Yeah. my my thoughts on the game may not bring much to the table, but if you watch my Let's Play, you do get to see stuff like that happen, which does occasionally get featured in Civ. One of the gems of playing this game. It's not quite an Easter egg, because I don't think that was intentional. Okay, Slave Revolt, that's actually particularly nasty. That is actually somewhat concerning. Um, 2 turns, let's do that. And even though we've got the Malice, I'm actually going to reinforce with Cavalry. It'll provide um, its stack aid bonus. We have 75% defense. We'll probably survive, but I mean, uh, we have an unused Great General as well. I am going to go ahead and utilize him. Seleucus Nicator. You get more total experience. Hey, I didn't even remove that from the game, I don't think. I always hate the stupid taunt noise that the general makes when you lead the unit, and he just didn't do it that time. Cool, alright. Okay, let's give him garrison 2, 3. Another first strike. I want to give him leadership, but that's such a revolt that I think leadership should be the next choice. We need all the immediate defense we can get. Send you back. And if we lose Athens to a random slave revolt, which I think is the maximum amount, the way that works is, at least ostensibly, nominally, it's supposed to be within the big fat cross, the 20 tiles that your city can work. The slave revolt is a random, quote unquote, random number between 1 and the maximum population, or the population of that city. Let's see, I'm counting. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, 13. So I tend to find that this is, in fact, the maximum. The good majority of the time, I don't know if I just have bad luck or what. Um, this engineer. If we lose Athens to freaking barbarians, I am actually going to do that and risk a revolt in Corinth, which is also somewhat likely. We've got 2 turns here, because if we roll the revolt in 1 turn, we can do the punitive measures. We'll do a levy in the meantime on the off chance that we can get defenses, because that's the main point. That's where most of the unhappiness is coming from, that +2 that they're not defended. But the Corinthian garrison can get to Athens in time. The game has excellent timing. Nothing else can, really. I'm glad we moved the horsemen. And I can't get a levy built in time either. Even if I unworked some specialists and all that. Yeah. You always want to make sure your cities are garrisoned if they grow large. 13 is pretty big for this time period, and we had even discussed Athens is, in fact, apparently it is the most populous city in the game right now. If we lose it to a stupid slave revolt, then I might just call the video early. I won't quit, but I think I'd be a little demoralized in my already fairly low mood to want to keep playing right now. Can't get there in 2 turns. But we seriously might need to counterattack, and they have a bonus against that type, so let's go ahead and put them there. Okay. No other really good moves, so. Are you kidding me? Another. Oh, yeah, of course. We lose the 25 or 29% roll on rioting, so that was against. It was fairly likely, but it was on the unlikely side, and in 1 turn that happened. Yeah. Just mere turns before we get our era-defining, cool, unique unit. And of course, this cavalry has a malice fighting in cities, so it will confer bonuses to the archers, as you can see. But if they die, 12% strength isn't bad. If they die, then if the archers die, the cavalry against these dudes is not going to fare very well. Okay, 13-6 strength. We've got 75 defense. I had to unfortify the general composite bowman. These are well promoted, and they have a lot of city defense. 75. So, but really the numbers disparity is concerning. I am going to turn. Yeah, quick combat is off. We don't really have any other good moves right now, so I'm just gonna end my turn. And if we lose the city, I'm gonna sign off, and we will do what we can to recover. Because I mean, we'll retake the city. In fact, I should move this. In fact, I should have already done that. Let's take all but like 3, which is going to prompt the Aztecs to attack us. Let's leave our least promoted, which is basically none of them. This guy on the right is the least experienced, I think. These 2 on the right. We'll leave those 2 on the right and take this. In case we need to counterattack, which we really might need to do, what's going to happen is we're going to lose, like, honestly, given the RNG's love for me, 80% of these buildings. We'll retake the city, but it's going to be a massive blow. And our current second place, almost first place position is going to get completely shafted by bad random events. And that's assuming we don't lose Corinth as well, which is rioting. We'll get to do a response to that. As a monarchy, we have a decent counter. In fact, for now, let's even go ahead and do this. That way they get a garrison. I should have done that the previous turn, but oh well. Composite bow. Yeah, if we lose Corinth and Athens, that's just going to be depressing, but I won't quit until we actually lose. I will cut the video short this time, but I'm not going to give up. Anyway, we made all the moves we can really do against this, so let's just sit and watch the Battle of Athens. Yeah, it's choppy. The combat. Yeah, and Athens sustains a plague. Great. Yeah, the combat animation. Yeah, he kills 2 of them. Great. The combat animations are choppy. Wow, this is not gonna go great. But I think I might have actually deleted the audio file where the general goes, "Ha! Woo!" And if you didn't hear that in any of the previous videos, that's almost certain. I made a few changes of my own. And I think I might have included that among them, because that really was annoying to me. Hopefully we have enough culture, too, for partisans to spawn if we run out of actual garrison defenders, but it might be too early in the game to assume that. Yeah, we're down to our not full strength archers anymore. And that guy's gonna kill him. Yep. And they're probably not even at half strength yet. Yeah, I must have deleted that speech file. It's not hard to find that, and it's so annoying too when you have a situation like this, which is just sheer bad luck, and the Great General unit is very likely going to die, and the general is just very annoyingly screaming in a falsetto mock voice, which is like comically funny but very annoying given how frustrating. See, he drops his sword here, surrenders, you lose the unit, but when he's cheering and stuff and then that just happens, it's so annoying. I mean, it'd be annoying on its own, but yeah. Okay, so we lost a general unit, but they did not take Athens, so that much is good. Most of this is the unhappiness from not having a garrison, which we've replaced. I mean, this is the skirmishers in transit, but this composite bow will come in the same turn. This can actually be pretty not really crippling, but it's a thorn in your side when the city is like a commercial hub. And if you do nothing, then it goes up by 10, which would leave us with a net 1%. And if it riots again, then that's probably grounds for ending the video too, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to just impose martial law here, which is an option, but putting a garrison in effectively represents that too. Alright, you unruly slaves. Yeah, didn't win. You almost died, of course. Okay. You get the Order of the Piece of Colored Ribbon, handed sincerely to you by Napoleon Bonaparte himself. Oh, right, yeah, now we can slaughter them. Okay. And you know what? These are fairly experienced skirmishers. I'll use them in my new stack that I'll combine with the Hamoyoe, or however that is authentically said. Are you kidding me? Okay, at least it wasn't Corinth again. This revolution mechanic is difficult. I love the depth that it adds, but it's difficult. And this city was too unhappy and too unhealthy to forfeit your garrison, and you can't spread your forces too thin in this game, where you will run into this exact problem, because 30% is pretty nasty. I mean, if we can survive 5 turns, it'll go down considerably, because a lot of this comes from surplus unhappiness and unhealthiness, and really, I don't see how jungle can be good. Jungle is awful. Maybe it's because Walter doesn't play with revolutions on, and he likes slash and burn farms, but the unhealthiness that they create is terrible. It really is terrible. Get rid of jungle as fast as you can. There's nothing really good for it, stemming from it. Okay. We don't need to worry about barbarians. You go here. Obviously, if I didn't mention it, your separatism is reduced by the strength of your garrison. Okay, of course they... oh, yeah, they already did. Whoops. In this case, and this is pretty much, at least currently, a worthless city, so let's do the tax break, which reduces it by 30%, which should keep it relatively manageable, but again, you can't really spread your garrison thin. So we're going to send these peons down here. We might as well. Yeah, oh, these are the same original defenders. And speaking of how horrible jungles are, how would you guys like an all expenses paid vacation to beautiful Ecuador or Amazonas, where there's the thickest jungle? And please do the Brazilian government a service and remove it as fast as you can. And if you die in the process, then your sins are absolved. How about I demand that you leave me alone? Okay, the other bad event, the theater that was destroyed by careless cigarette smoker, the ancient world has been rebuilt. Hopefully, given that the modern context affords cigarettes, the construction company, which also exists in the ancient world, had a good insurance policy, which did exist in the ancient world, but that kind of defeats the joke I'm trying to make. Okay. And now you get more powerful barbarians. That is one thing that would be cool, is the way that the barbarian pressure works is they are originally, that's a cool looking unit. They're originally animals which can't enter your cultural borders, and then around turn 60, the human barbarians start to spawn which can, and they really peak around. Yeah, I don't really need this anymore. And these are relatively experienced irregulars. You know what? Let's just combine this army. I'll need to make sure my garrison is okay in Athens here pretty soon. But anyway, the barbarian pressure, when as more and more of the map gets explored, they can only spawn in the more than two away from any human or AI player, and so eventually they just kind of go away, except for regions of the world like over here where presumably no one has settled. Even though someone could have settled here and I don't see it, they probably haven't. This isn't a really inviting area except for this iron, which isn't really supported by any food. But nonetheless, it would be cool if the barbarian. Oh yeah, so the barbarian pressure peaks around 2000. This is like the second millennium BC probably. But it would be cool if it was like a mounting influence where the barbarian pressure increased considerably towards around this time in the classical era, in spite of the border crawl of the actual represented players in the game. Like the Volkerwanderung and the era of migration in early medieval history. If you had something like that, even though a lot of those peoples are represented by actual civs in the game, if you had something akin to that where barbarian pressure was high on relatively developed classical civilizations, that would be cool. But alas, the game mechanics don't really lend themselves to that. Okay, we're gonna get invaded by these barbs.
All right, but apart from the sanitation, medicine, education, wine, public order, irrigation,
Yeah.
roads, the fresh water system, and public health,
I guess the AI is
what's Romans
smart.
ever done for us?
We don't get any tech transfer on elephant taming, which defeats my stated point of it being an eyesore on seeing what other people have. So let's go ahead and do this one instead. That jungle hill's a nice spot to defend. Really high defensive bonus. And if the Aztecs want to attack, it's almost certainly going to be on one of these adjacent tiles. So yeah, this is a good place to set up a defensive army. Unless any other, no, you can go, yeah, do something unkind to say. Unless any other careless cigarette smokers burn down the theater we just rebuilt, let's get into a gold surplus. It is fairly strong. For the turn, let's do this. We did clear the jungle, so that's worth something. Let's move here. That way, if the Aztecs do invade, they can't get their own defensible spot. You guys get rid of that. Alright. When you can can defeat malaria microbes, how can you not defeat some random barbarians? Well, I guess those peasants that just set up shop there didn't belong to the malaria veterans club because they had just arrived, but they were strong enough, it seems. One more slave, you guys get to clear this jungle. And this one, yeah, we've got a semblance of a classical army going. We played a little farther. I'm going to cut this one a little short. I've been aiming for about an hour. This is, I think, exactly 45 minutes or quite nearly, but as I said, I'm not in a great mood, and um, this was more out of obligation today, honestly. I'm not really feeling like playing, but as I had said, my not only intent, but I was actually getting up and walking towards my computer at the very moment to start recording at the very moment that my power went out. So, and that was the day I had set aside to do this. And I realized another week has transpired, and I wanted to get another video out. So today was a good time. I had the time for it. No one else is really placing demands on my time um, at such a priority that I wouldn't really feasibly do this. And I had said I want to get a video out every week, so on average. I think I'm just about at that average, so anyway, all that to say, I did this mostly to keep the pace going, but I'm just not really feeling it right now, so I'm sure it'll be different next week, but yeah, just another casual segment. I'm glad we didn't lose our capital to a stupid revolt at the maximal intensity, and then admittedly not a particularly unlikely, but a bad roll in Corinth where we could have lost that city too, but fortunately we did not. So I'm going to need to beef up my garrison in all of these cities. This unit is really good, and I haven't even promoted it yet. I'm going to build to the max of those, and then we'll also build... Um, these guys are not far away. Armor crafting is... Um, something we actually already have, so we can build those, and I don't think there is a limit of 4 on them, but these are pretty strong units. They're bonus against archery and melee. The archer is universal, but attack versus melee, not bad. And it starts with a 25 melee bonus too, anyway, so strong classical units. Our strength is okay, but we have some really aggressive neighbors, namely the Aztecs here. And then Cao. I need to get an army in the northwest too, so beefing up militarily, city garrison, strong army on both frontiers, that's the next priority. And as we transition to the medieval era, we have a lot of unworked land here that, as our city caps grow pretty considerably in this era, we'll be able to utilize. So the pressure, I don't think at the moment is going to be on horizontal expansion, though a temporary military advantage might lend itself to that. Archery attack in particular, I might consider attacking the Chinese. We'll need to spy on them first, see what their defenses are like, but this peninsula, if I can conquer that, I probably will do it later, just the way that the marginal tech cost per city is pretty crippling if you overexpand early. But this is a nice chunk of the world that has good naturally defensible borders. If I take Jixian, it's not going to be much harder to defend in a non-naval sense than what I already have against any other would-be attacker. This is kind of its own backyard. But yeah, if we do that, given that we have to build up our military defensively anyway, using our classical units, I'll do that first. If I find the Chinese are particularly weak, I might attack them, but otherwise I think sitting tight until probably at least a good ways into the medieval era is not a bad move. And generally I just need to explore. We need to see what the Aztecs have here and stuff, and yeah. But the paved roads we got in, that's a nice advantage too. The ability to jockey your troops back and forth. I mean, this is a fairly long route at this phase in the game. not as the crow flies, but connecting all of these cities along this route, it's pretty long, and having the paved roads, especially through a desert like this, makes a pretty big difference. So those are some things to bear in mind. I'll probably watch the last few minutes of this video before recording the next in a week or so, but yeah, if you've made it this far along, thank you for watching. This is the Ashard Het signing off, and have a good night, or day, or morning, or whatever happens to be the case as you're viewing. But I'll see you later.